like with you for the episode of Winnie Wicked Wednesday. My name is Winnie. Please do like and subscribe and come and join the family and share and like with your friends and family so I can continue making content. So for this week's episode, we're going to be breaking down if true crime documentaries are doing more harm than good. If you guys want to see me break it down, please continue. As you guys can already tell by the title of this week's episode, it says, Can true crime documentaries do more harm than good? And the answer is yes. But before we get to that, I just want to break down what is a documentary. Now, a documentary can be a piece of film that is aiming to bring untold stories for the purpose of spreading awareness, whether it can be about a social campaign or a person or an activist. So overall, documentaries are really important piece of information because they help to bring awareness. But over the past couple of years, the number of documentaries that have been created about serial killers or true crime stories have really struck a nerve all over the world. Now, going back to the question at hand here is, can true crime documentaries do more harm than good? Yes. When we say yes, if a true crime documentary is focusing on two experts and it's not hitting the nail or is missing the mark, then we can say that it can do more harm than good. And over the past couple of months, the new Jeffrey Dahmer documentary was just released over there by Netflix. And it is one of those few documentaries that has been released that does raise question that if it's doing more harm than good, because it was just recently Halloween and there were people that were dressing up as Dahmer, which that is probably one of the most distasteful things I've ever seen in my life. Now, again, true crime documentaries can definitely do more harm than good. First thing, if it dehumanizes the victims. Now, in any storytelling, you never want to dehumanize the victim, ever. Like whether it's whether you're a YouTuber or whether you're a filmmaker, whether you're a storyteller, you always want to make sure that you tell as much of the story with bringing justice to the victim and doing that with sensitivity. So in my opinion, if you want to make sure you don't dehumanize the victims, first of all, I find it very distasteful that over the past couple of years, and this has been happening a lot of Hollywood filmmakers and productions, when they create true documentaries, they never reach out to the victims, which I find to be very concerning. I feel like if you're creating a true crime documentary and you're going to be making millions of this, the least you can do is compensate the people involved. You're going to be making money from that tragedy. So why not compensate them? Like, that's something that I find to be very questionable. And that's something that I find to be very disturbing, especially with the recent Jeffrey Dahmer documentary. The fact that apparently, allegedly, the cast or the production team, let me say that, because not the cast, the production team did not reach out to the victims, which I find to be very concerning. So if you want to make sure you create a documentary and you're capitalizing off another person's tragedy, at least either give them a call or make sure you let them know beforehand, or don't tell the story at all, especially if you're not going to be compensating them. Don't tell the story at all. And second thing, whether the victim is alive or not, if there are still family members of the victim, please do reach out. So yes, a true crime documentary can do more harm than good if you're dehumanizing the victim. Like I said, if you're not going to compensate them, if you're not going to reach out that you're making the story, rather don't do it at all. And the second thing that makes true crime documentaries very questionable lately is kind of, if you're going to glorify the killer, then you should not be telling the story at all. Because as much as true documentaries in general, whether it's true crime or not, are meant to be entertaining, because at the end of the day they have to make sure they join the audience. You always have to make sure they bring about awareness, and that's something that I feel like over the past couple of years has not been really done with documentaries. If you're always going to be telling the story from the killer's point of view, then and you're telling very little of the victim's point of view, then you're definitely part of the problem, because you're glorifying the killer. Because now it raises the questions that, do we even still need to make true crime documentaries? I'll always say yes, because I do find the genre very interesting, and I find that it brings a lot of awareness. But like I'm saying, a lot of those productions over the years, they have really lost touch in trying to create this story, because this is not a movie where you're creating a movie about a new character. You are telling about people's stories, like tragic stories. Like, guys, true crime, these are actual crimes that happened and that affected real people's lives. Like, some people lost their lives in these things. And when you create a story, and then the only aspect and the biggest focus you're creating, it's from the killer's perspective, and you're not even doing it with a little bit of integrity and a little bit of remorse, it makes me question the entire entity. Although I get it, every documentary, when it's created, there has to be an angle. It can either be from the killer's point of view, or the victims, or from the people that were bystanders, people that noticed that this happened. But still, there needs to be a little bit of respect for the victims, because that's something that we never have to lose sight of. The victims are the only people that matters. Over the past couple of years, it's also been said that, why is it that so many serial killers, we know their names and not their victims? And this is exactly what happens when you glorify the killer and you forget about the victims. So, in conclusion, true crime documentaries can do more harm than good. Please, in future, when we create documentaries, let's make sure that we give as much respect to our victims as possible. Or not, don't create the story at all. And that's something that I feel like Hollywood needs to have a serious conversation about. The fact that victims don't get compensated, and then they keep making millions from some of these productions. That's something that needs to be highly questioned. So, in conclusion, I'm not saying that we should cancel culture for, like, documentaries, anything. Documentaries are very, very important. We need them for educational purposes, but we also need for them to stay true to the victims. And so much, guys, for watching this week's episode. I can't wait to see you next week. But I also like to hear what you guys' thoughts are on true crime documentaries. Please leave your comments down below. I'll see you guys next week. Bye.